What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Crypto World Radio. I'm Wabi, and I'm here joined by my co-host, as always, our special guest, Tsunami, and we also have Theo Payne, my boy, here at Because Bitcoin, and we're also joined by Starspace, which is a launchpad and NFT marketplace built on Aptos, and a pretty cool surprise. We have the Pandas Awakening here, and they're a collection on Aptos. And I'm still familiarizing myself with all things move, so want to welcome you guys all today to a roundtable space. And this is going to be pretty new for me, as it is for you guys. But yeah, we have Tsunami Finance, and they're a margin trading and spot exchange built on Aptos. And yeah, they allow users to trade cryptos like BTC and ETH with zero price impact, known exit liquidity, low funding fees, and also collateral that grows in value over time. And they offer a pretty unique approach as far as pricing goes that's not dependent on the price curve of assets, making it a bit different compared to other AMMs, say like on Ethereum, like a Uniswap or a balancer. And in addition to that, they also offered some pool LP tokens called TLP, which minimizes risk from permanent loss through diversification of blue chip cryptos and stables, and also maximizing those rewards by generating leverage trading fees on top of swap fees. So a plethora of stuff. And of course, like I said, we have a launch pad built on Aptos called Starspace, which is also an NFT marketplace, and also the Pandas Awakening, is a which is a collection that's on Aptos. And on top of that, guys, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for Crypto World Radio. I'm going to put them up on the nest, Noah's Protocol. And yeah, Noah's Protocol, they're a DeFi suite that's going to be launching a DeFi lease. And it's gonna risk. It essentially risks. My bad. It de-risks you from full liquidation. You get to keep your full assets. So basically like a stop loss platform, the first of its kind. So be sure to check them out. I believe they launched mainnet sometime in May or June. Put them up on the nest. And yeah, let's get started. I want to welcome everyone up on here. I want to thank Tsunami, Pain, Stars. How's everyone doing? We'll start off with Tsunami. How are you guys doing, brother?
We're doing good, man. Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, it's great to talk with you guys. Yeah, the Aptos ecosystem, it's a fairly new ecosystem. Because of that, it's always a great time for us to talk to people participating in other, chains and whatnot. I know you guys are mostly Bitcoin guys, but I'm sure you guys participate in Ethereum, maybe Solana, and a wide variety of like smart contract ecosystem L1s, and even layer twos maybe. But we'd love to talk to you guys about Aptos. It's currently the fastest network in existence. Yeah, with low latency and high speeds. There's a lot of unique things that we can do, and we're really excited just to talk about DeFi on Aptos, Tsunami itself, and then Star Space and the NFT ecosystem. Obviously, NFTs are a little bit more hot, I would say, on chain right now. It's going to be really interesting to see a lot of the NFTs that come live on Starspace when that's live. The Tsunami and Starspace team work on a bunch of unique stuff together through like NFT-fi concepts and products. I'm pretty sure that the Starspace team is going to be using our Earn Asset TLP in a wide variety of ways, including allowing NFT projects themselves to integrate that and essentially give yield to their holders. And that can be used to essentially address key problems in the NFT side of things, which include volume and liquidity, and then also increase in user accounts in DeFi. So there's going to be a bunch of unique things like that occurring between, Tsunami, Start Space, and you can only really find these products in the Aptos ecosystem. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Glad to have you up here, brother. Glad to have you up. I do have some questions for you, brother. Once we get started, so for the individual behind Starspace, how are you doing, brother? Good to have you up, man.
Yeah, great to obviously be here. Uh, I'm over in Asia right now, so it's a bit early for me. Can you guys hear me okay? I know the Wi-Fi here has not been.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
You're
great,
good. You're
great,
good,
great.
man. You're good.
Yeah, no, it's obviously great to be here. Um, it's really been a blast. I think building on Aptos the past couple months. Just hit DevNet not too long ago. We'll be hitting testnet soon as well, and I think really going to market over the next 4 to 8 weeks, and are just incredibly excited. I think by the Aptos NFT ecosystem, the team behind Aptos, and everyone else building on Aptos. And Yeah, thank you so much for having us really on this space.
No problem, man. No problem. And for the individual behind Panda's Awakening, what's going on, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, Bobby. Thanks for having me here. Good morning, everyone. This is Vinay, core contributor for Pandas Awakening and head of North America for Chingari. For people who don't know who we are, so Chingari is one of the most popular social media platform based out of India. We have more than 175 million installations, and we are soon going to be building our Web3 product on Aptos. And we forecast to bring in couple of million users onto Aptos by in the next 9 months. And also we are launching this NFT collection very soon. The mint date is continuously being postponed for whatever the reason, but very soon we'll be announcing the mint date of this NFT collection too.
Cool, man. Cool. So we'll get started with Tsunami. Bones, brother. So, could you explain to us what exactly some of the differences are between like a new programming language like Move compared to something like Solidity, right? I know like your experience comes. I know you've worked on Ethereum, specifically on Arbitrum. So, would love to know what are some of like the pros and cons between both languages.
Yeah, I would say the majority of my like DeFi experience is definitely working on Solana. Definitely enjoy everything that goes on the Ethereum ecosystem as well. But like, yeah, comparing the languages may be a little bit hard for me, like directly. But the chains themselves, yeah, just like the amount of like Aptos itself, we can do hundreds of thousands transactions per second. Of course, the chain is not working at that speed currently, and that's just because there's not enough applications and users and just real transactions occurring at those numbers. But yeah, just basically these move chains in general, Aptos and Sui, the performance is far better, and it's far better than even Solana. Working with Rust, for example, on Solana too, can be very difficult at times. Working with Move on Aptos is a lot smoother. The original like Aptos repo, or not Aptos repo, but Move repo, was written in Rust. So there's a lot of similarities between the two. But overall, like Rust wasn't built for blockchain, right? Like Rust is just a computer programming language, but Move was. Move was created by the DM team, of course, at Facebook, and because of that, it's just a lot easier using Move, creating essentially anything on chain. So the Aptos Labs team is constantly improving Aptos's version of the DM blockchain, and we're really looking forward to seeing what it looks like in the next couple of months. We think that like composable NFT standards and a bunch of other unique things regarding the Aptos ecosystem will be constantly improving. I know that the gas schedule was just improved um, quite a bit as well, and that's like super important for us as an Oracle based DEX. It was costing us quite a pretty penny on testnet running the protocol, but now it's a lot more affordable, and we should be going to mainnet soon. So Aptos as a chain is constantly improving. Working with Move allows us to do that, and then working as on-chain builders creating DApps. It is a lot simpler than what it was with Rust. So yes.
So it's as far as Tsunami goes, I know you guys are taking an innovative approach as far as margin trading and spot trading, right? So what you guys do, you incorporate an oracle price and pull liquidity, and then the platform provides traders with things like 0% price impact, and as I said, known exit liquidity, which is a bit of a unique aspect when we think of crypto trading specific. So, could you elaborate on how that unique pricing mechanism works, brother?
Yeah, of course. So, Tsunami itself, we're an Oracle-based DEX. We have no AMMs, no CLOBs, no off-chain, on-chain order books. So how the protocol operates is a trader is trading against the LP on our platform, and these LPs are baskets of goods. As you alluded to, holding a wide variety of blue chip assets. But since we have multiple baskets of goods, it can even be non-blue chip assets, which is quite unique for this Oracle-based model. Typically, like Oracle-based dexes like GMX, they only can offer large cap blue chip assets because of risk. There's always pricing risk. Since you're using oracles, somebody could manipulate the price if it's a very, very liquid or low market cap asset. But since we use multiple baskets of goods, we can kind of mediate some of those risks. So, for example, we can offer assets like cake from Pancake Swap or sushi, which are two examples that we're probably going to implement early on. And we can have those be in their own basket of goods and kind of mitigate some of the risk. So then, like, we won't see ultimate protocol failure. But yeah, how the mechanism works is trader trades against the LP, and the price that they get comes from Switchboard and Pith Oracles. And Switchboard did their integration to Aptos all customly for Tsunami, so everything works very, very well for us. We're able to price liquidity better than GMX, and we're able to do a bunch of unique things through NFTFi, SocialFi, and of course multiple baskets of goods that GMX can't do either. And we're very, very excited about that.
Sick, man. So, was actually very curious to follow up on your statement about TLP, and like we're going over right now. It allows liquidity providers to diversify the risk and maximize things like rewards and all that stuff. How exactly does the token work? And also, how do you guys ensure that the TLP token remains stable and attractive to LPs, especially during times of high market volatility as we've seen over the last year?
Yeah, yeah, of course. There's a bunch of details specifically on TLP in our docs, so I want to iterate that before I go ahead and give kind of like a latent terms walkthrough of it. So at any time, feel free to go to docs.tsunami.finance, and you can find every detail of our protocol, including how a lot of these mechanisms work. There's even good bits of information if you are familiar with coding in any capacity on how to run a keeper bot, running liquidations, and other things to maintain the network that you can make a little bit of money on. So feel free to go check that out. But yeah, so how TLP works is it is a basket of goods. If you pull up our testnet currently, you can see the initial basket of goods. It suffers minimal and permanent loss since it is a basket of goods and it isn't like an AMM style pool. And yeah, because it's accruing fees and revenues on the platform, it actually makes more and yield than it does suffer impermanent loss. You do suffer slight amounts of impermanent loss. That's just how it works. But since fees and revenues are higher, you don't really feel that. So you will receive a certain fixed yield rate, and that will, of course, vary over time. And yeah, it's a very, very cool mechanism because it is a, like quote unquote real yield source. Bunch of different protocols can utilize it in a wide variety of ways. As you alluded to earlier, I worked on an Arbitrum protocol that took very similar yields from GMX, called GLP, and we created a delta neutral protocol. So you could participate in a fixed product on top of a protocol like Tsunami if somebody creates a delta neutral strategy off of this yield. It's very easy to do a wide variety of things. I think something that's super unique to the Aptos ecosystem is that Starspace is going to be essentially building some products on top of this yield. And I don't know currently if there's any NFT marketplaces in existence that are basically building on top of a DeFi protocol to utilize basically DeFi strategies, but through NFTs. But that's what we're doing with them. So it's very very unique stuff that you can only find on Aptos. And we're excited to pretty much offer this to the ecosystem. So Tsunami. Um, as a protocol, right, we allow people to trade with leverage, right? So it is a trading platform. It's not just your standard swap, which is something unique to the Aptos ecosystem that's not currently in existence yet. Long short trading with leverage, and we have this yield product that is very competitive. That not only improves the LP experience, because if you ever participate in an LP on, any Uni V2, V3 model, you're going to suffer mass amounts of a permanent loss. It's actually pretty stupid because if you're providing liquidity, you should receive at least a low amount of yield, right? Like in theory, like that just makes sense. But currently, our dexes don't serve users well, specifically LPs, so that occurs. And yeah, that's a little bit of a rundown of all that.
Thanks, man. That was a very well detailed explanation. And I guess we'll move on over to Starspace. Starspace, what's going on, man? Very interested to know what kind of marketplace you guys are. You know, Bones actually like introduced me to you guys today, and I didn't really have much time to dive into what you guys are doing for the NFT space on Aptos. So I'd like to know: are you guys more of a like pseudo swap? Are you guys like Blur? What's like the statement behind what you guys are trying to do on the Aptos ecosystem?
Yeah, I think that we definitely like to take a lot of uh, sort of inspiration from a number of different sort of marketplaces. I would say definitely to start, we're staying away though from at least for now from the AMM side of things. I think that we would absolutely love to do that in the future, but at least to start, I think that we're definitely not closer to something like SudoSwap um, than maybe something like OpenSea or Magic Eden. I think that there's a lot of things we've recognized that OpenSea, Magic Eden Blur, X2, Y2, etc. have done really well, and I think some things they haven't done so well. But ultimately, where we'd really like to focus is really around NFT-Fi. Like that's where us as a team have a lot of passion, some great experience, and generally see the sort of most opportunity. And I think that one piece of that is of course working closely with Tsunami on the TLP or Earn product on NFTs, but also just giving really users their end users the sort of ease of use to unlocking new potential with their assets is what we'd really like to focus on, and where we believe is really the best um, value for the end user. And so you can think of things like very easy or sort of one click solutions to staking, to borrow lending, to eventually I think some sort of margin or leverage as well, introducing sort of margin or leverage as well to NFTs. But ultimately, that's where we'd like to focus, and that is, I think, a bit about what we're building. I think touched a little bit as well on the beginning of this. We just hit really DevNet about last week or so, or maybe the week before that, and we'll be going to testnet soon and just doing a bunch of different testing and really looking forward to just being, I think, on mainnet for Aptos and getting feedback and ultimately just building with Aptos and the sort of overall ecosystem. And Pandas is one of those projects that we won't be launching, but are planning to work really closely with, and have had a lot of great conversations with Vinay, who's on that account right now, and many of the other team members. And I think they're really one of the if not the one of the brightest teams on Aptos, or building with Aptos, and I think that short form video, vertical video is um, so valuable today in sort of consumers' minds, and I think using that to push NFT or really Web3 narratives, I think is going to be crucial to Aptos as well as to the sort of broader mission that I guess crypto is really here for.
Well, we can actually touch upon that as far as NFT goes, like narratives and all that stuff. What do you guys think it's going to take for NFTs to really kick off mainstream adoption? Do you guys think it's going to be things like with mobile integration? I know Solana, they recently released their Saga phone at scale. Like, it's not really it's not really scarce in the supply that people thought it was, but like, what do you think the NFT landscape has to do in order to capture that same Web two attention span, where people just want to interact with these technologies, right? Like Chat GPT, right? Just came out of nowhere, and people
Totally.
just want to interact with it as much as they can. So what sort of application do you guys believe it's going to take for NFTs to really hyperscale at to that extent?
Yeah, I think that we talk a lot about. I think that the sort of easiest thing that most people would reply to this is really gaming. I do see a lot of value in gaming and so how NFT assets can be integrated with a number of different games. But I think our view is that while that stuff is interesting, it's probably years away from I think any sort of meaningful usage or adoption. I think like you see today in just the large games like Sandbox and others that I think are trying to introduce some sort of NFT aspect to it. Like they're struggling to sort of have any meaningful users or really any users at all. And so I think that the sort of adoption I think in my opinion has to come from a lot more unfortunately really free stuff. I think that stuff like rewards in app for something like Starbucks that's completely free. I don't know if it's sort of like a PFP reward or just a reward that also comes as sort of an NFT that you could make sure you sort of have over time. I think that there's the stuff with Saga. I think is very interesting. Um, we've I think we've taken a look a little bit at Saga. I think that I don't know. There's a lot of different things around how they, of course, launched Saga that I think are to be questioned. But looking forward to generally their offering their I know mobile for our application as well as just more and more adoption will be very crucial, especially as you go outside of the U.S. The majority of people don't have a PC; they more so have of course, a mobile phone. And so I think that's going to be really interesting. And I think, lastly, the social side of things. I think like integrations like really Chingari, if there's sort of like free uh, NFTs and integrations there, I see that being sort of the easiest path to adoption rather than making, the friction $5 to $10, if not even more, for some sort of monkey JPEG. So I think that free to own sort of model is something that I'm a strong believer in. Someone like Gabriel Leiden and DJI Kaku, the stuff that they're doing, I think is really interesting, and I think is something to note for further adoption.
I want to pass it over to Payne before we go on over to the pandas. Payne, what about yourself? I know you dive pretty much full time into the NFT landscape. What's your take as far as like what the NFT verse has to do in order to capture that same attention that video games have, or even just like crypto trading in general? What are some of the solutions that you want to see implemented?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think that NFTs necessarily have to reinvent the wheel to be like have exponential growth from here. Like we've seen a bunch of super successful, PFP projects recently, but like only some have staying power. And I think it's really just going to matter with like who's a part of the community and who's really like actually, into it and, wants to be a part of the community. And it's not just like VC funded culture necessarily. Like that's why I've been a big fan of the Miladies and Remilios, because it's very authentic. It's not like it's not, some like pump and dump where all the people change their PFP like the day after it stops pumping or some shit like that. It's yeah, like there's a bunch of cool people, and I think that the real winners will just be the people that, you know, actually build cool utility, like, IRL events, merch, whatever it may be. But there's also another aspect of it too, like how you mentioned stars is like the whole collecting the digital collectibles thing. I think that thing has yet to take off at all. Like Starbucks tried it out a little bit, I think, with they had like some kind of NFT on Polygon, but basically, I think if you went a certain amount of times or on certain days, you got an NFT. And so like there's definitely companies trying them out, like different models like that, especially Reddit too just did a recent launch. And so I think as the cycle goes on, we'll see more and more companies. They'll probably remarket it as digital collectibles, I think. But I also think that, these projects that are just coming out and like it's a blatant knockoff of another project and it's not anything original. Like I've been, I got into NFTs like in early 2021, and I've been in crypto since like 2018 though, and I've seen so many projects come and go. It's like they almost do the like the whole market cycle like in 1 week to 3 weeks. Like just pump from like point 0.2 to 8 ETH and then just round trip it. And so, uh, yeah, I think that there's a select projects though that you could like really invest in and like hold for a while. But at this point, the market hasn't matured enough yet to where I think you could like really, really go like all in on like a bunch of different projects. I don't think that would. I don't think that's the solution if you want to just be like a successful, trader, I guess. But what's up, Panda? You've had your
Yeah.
hand up for a while.
Oh yeah. So something to add for the question you asked. So if you really want the mass adoption for the NFTs, or if you really want NFTs to be the mainstream thing, uh, it boils down to the problem it is solving. So it's not like I would say PFPs and NFT clubs are overrated in the entire NFT ecosystem, despite us trying to launch our own PFP collection with pandas. So like our take, like previously, before the content was digital, uh, there are ways to people to own content. There are ways to people to own collectibles. uh, of course, that's the reason why NFTs got created. So we are trying to solve that with content ownership, where you could mint your videos or you could mint the content you created as NFTs, so that even if someone copy pastes your stuff, or even if someone downloads and re-uploads it for some other social media platform or for the same social media platform, this NFT will show uh, your proof of ownership. And we already did it with the video NFTs and helped 15,000 creators to help to mint their content as NFTs. So, and also these NFTs was purchased by their fan base, and the people who purchased these NFTs got 10% of their creators' earnings, uh, like royalties or like dividends. So it's pretty much like you support your favorite creator by purchasing their NFTs, by purchasing their video NFTs, and benefit from their growth. So this is one way, and we are also using these video NFTs for NFT gated access. So it's pretty much like Patreon on Web3, where if you are a VNFT holder of a creator, you could get some exclusive content access. And if you don't push on these fronts, I would say like crypto will never see mass adoption for NFTs. Like I would say social is the biggest vertical, and content is the most important vertical. Like that's the point of NFTs in general, like if at least in my opinion.
Go ahead, Lore Art. Oh, Payne, were you gonna say
Yo.
something, brother?
No, I was just gonna say, Laura, you should go. And then
Oh,
Panda, can you mute yourself? I think you're driving, and I can hear a lot of background noise. I'm sorry.
yo, thanks for the floor. Hi, Lord Art here from
Appreciate
Aptos. Yeah, I just like to add into what like you guys were talking about with NFT gaming. I also strongly believe that for Aptos right now, especially with the tech that they're running on, which is Move, I think it's a really good like a strategy to actually push gaming because of how powerful the tech is. Um, the way I see things with the current like um situation of like NFT gaming, we we're kind of like they're the projects they're kind of like doing things wrong because I'm not saying that I'm an expert on this. This is just my personal opinion because they're like developing their own game as an individual project. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but when you do that, you're not really utilizing like the technology of the blockchain because that's what the blockchain what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be something that is decentralized. I know that makes no sense when it comes to like game development because at the end of the day, you need to have somebody to be pulling the trigger, especially when you're doing like game stuff. You need somebody to be like managing the updates and shit. But you know, one thing that we can have in the blockchain is transparency. So if you like try hard enough to think about that, you could actually come up with something that's decentralized in a way. So I mean, there's already a lot of like inspiration like that we could look into, like I mean, movies that we could look into, or like even animes. I'm not sure if you guys are a big fan of animes. There's this like anime called Sword Art Online, wherein like
Oh yes, I
the
love Sword Art
characters they
Online,
have,
bro.
yeah, yeah. So think about it, like they have these assets that they can actually bring to a different game, and that assets will stay with them. So imagine like having that in the blockchain. So essentially, there's two things that will like that will hype like that asset. Number one, like you can bring it to games that will allow like adaption to that asset, and that's gonna be yours forever. Like, and number two, like even like if that one specific game shuts down, the asset's still gonna be yours, and you can still bring it to some other game. That's one thing that nobody has ever thought about. And there's like fuck ton of NFT games that have been trying to push their shit out. And I think one of the bad things that happened also was like NFT got off like the wrong foot with gaming because they started off with play to earn games like Axie Infinity, which at the end of the day was just a big ass Ponzi. But yeah, I think like with Move, if people would pay more attention to it, I'm not saying that it's the best tech, but I think it's the best tech to play with right now, especially when it comes to integrating like different dApps because of how like easy it is. I mean, I've not seen all other like um protocols yet, but among those that I've seen so far, I think Move is like the most adapt adaption friendly. I'm not sure if that's the term, but yeah, that's my sentiment on like how we could up the ante on the gaming like scene of NFTs.
Tsunami, and for yourself, I know like NFTFi is trying to be a thing, but I kind of feel like there's some risk to that. And me and Payne were talking about this, right? So it's like, you take your NFT and you stake it to get a yield bearing asset, which you can then wrap in a synthetic to lock in a vault, and you get some LSD and all that stuff. And you
And then
get
you can
into,
take that, and then you can take another loan out against it,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then wrap
yeah,
that for even more leverage.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
all
Yeah, I mean,
no. I think there's can be some good parts of NFT fi, like I think SudoSwap and NFTX are doing great jobs with the liquidity pools. Any question or any collection that has a deep liquidity pool is probably going to do pretty well if it has decent volume, and like it makes people comfortable when they know that you can basically just sell for floor price with little slippage at any time. And so there's really cool things like that I do like, for sure. But I'm not a huge fan of of like the loans and stuff. But I think also I think NFT perps are a really cool idea though. Like just being able to trade futures for the floor price is pretty dope.
Yeah, there's a bunch of different like things you could do, right? Like, what is NFTFi, right? Like, it's essentially just taking NFTs and applying them to DeFi concepts, and then like you can do it like in a lot of the current ways that have been set up. But like a big way Tsunami plans to apply these things is more so just using NFTs as a medium for people to participate in DeFi. So it's less like NFTFi per se, but more so like using NFTs as the medium to participate. When like traditionally, I don't know, people would hold like an LP token to participate in Tsunami's LP, but you could quite literally, put NFTs on top of the LP, and in that instance, they're essentially acting as the LP token. It's just people rather hold NFTs because an NFT is a little bit different than holding a LP token. So yeah, like I think NFT perps are really really cool too. I know that me and Chadley, who's on the Starspace account, we both helped the NFT perp team in the early days. Worked on that protocol for a little bit, and yeah, there's just a lot of risk with that. And it's quite obvious risk. Like when you have a asset that has a fairly low market cap and is fairly illiquid, it's probably quite easy to manipulate that floor price. And when we break down NFTs, they're all fairly low market cap, and especially in an ecosystem like, for example, Aptos, right, where the largest NFTs are probably just over 1.5 million. If you're offering some kind of perpetuals market on these, it's probably pretty easy to manipulate it, and you'll have like a mango markets type situation that will ultimately probably break the protocol. So yeah, like there's just a lot of risk and things like that. Of course, yeah, like taking out loans on things. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's a smart idea from a protocol standpoint to offer that, just because you'll probably get burned eventually. Sharkify has made it work, and they've done extremely well. Yeah, so kudos to them. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, right? Some of these things can be realized more easily on a chain like Ethereum, or like it's layer twos. But when we start talking about some of these smaller ecosystems with less liquidity, less end users, just smaller assets as is, there's a lot more risk with any of these DeFi concepts. So yeah, it becomes an interesting conversation.
Payne, if you want to follow up, man, I'm just here learning about the whole NFT concept, dude. This is like rocket science to me, brother. Completely out of my element, man. But yeah, the
Is
discussion where I was trying to point it out is that like I feel like at the current moment, projects that are trying to get some limelight, just in general, like they're trying to overcomplicate stuff, and you end up putting yourself at a risk for some 2008 stuff, right? Like, you don't need to have so many synthetics and so much, collateral based things that earn yield on your asset, right? Like, I think we should just go back to some grassroots stuff, right? Like, if you're gonna have an NFT, yeah, go ahead, have some perks at it, but when you start trying to over Ponzify it, you end up just burning an entire community, and we
Yeah,
don't we
like
don't
the cop out is always overdropping a token or we're doing staking, and it's all the same Ponzi just repackaged. It's all just inflationary yield
well, I
being
think
pumped out to you, and
I
it's just no value. Nobody's buying these tokens. It's literally just exit, like it's just exit liquidity straight up. The only one I can think of that did decent is Ape, and that's just because it had basically a VC backstop. like every single other token, whenever the project launches a token, the token kind of ties like the value down to a project to a certain extent. Like the Cool Cats suffered a lot because they dropped a token and that shit just went like straight to zero basically. Um, and so yeah, I think people just are still trying to do the same formula. And I'm not a founder. I don't have the answer for like what's gonna switch it up. Like I said, the only project I truly think that actually has some merit and like has not, you know, is like original and like really sticks out to me is like Miladies and Remilios. And then like that's pretty much it. Like with as far as if you look at all the quote unquote blue chips from last, I'm not, and like don't get me wrong, I love NFTs and I love trading them, but I think people really get burned because they get super attached to these communities and they think, like it's just gonna be like that forever. Like I remember with Alien Friends, that was like one of the first like really big wins that I caught, and I bought a bunch of those at like point 0.1 ETH and sold them at like 3 ETH, and like there was people who were just like you know, just made, have like 40K in unrealized gains. And they're just like, oh, these are gonna be the next base C, and now they're literally like $300.
Well, I
And
think I think a couple things, right? I think that
it's
in
just like the
general,
ICO era, in my opinion, right now. But sorry,
I,
continue.
I think in general, right? I think that NFT fi, in my opinion, is just a it's just sort of like par of the course of how any sort of market or how any financial markets has developed, right? Like you sort of build or focus on robust spot markets that have now been around on the NFT side of things for 1 to 2 years, right? You have liquidity pools, AMMs, all that sort of stuff now. And so I think that NFT fi is just sort of like taking that to the next step where like you own a ton of different sort of NFT assets, and like you want to get ETH because you sort of own a BASI or BASI, whatever the hell it is, and then you want to go from there, and like you want to hedge, and so like you want perps to sort of like hedge because NFTs are only long only now, and then I think to the sort of piece of just like NFTs in general, I think that like I think I sort of question, I guess, the I guess your points made around some of the different communities. I think that like NFTs right now, I think that um, why I think even NFTs are having any sort of volumes at all is I think it's sort of this fundamental shift in how I think social is just social media in general is now sort of at its stage, which is that like 10 years ago, the sort of focus on, social from Facebook and others was to get you to really add as many friends as possible. But now that's really not the case. Like you've already added, as many friends as possible. And the shift is now to get you to join as many communities as possible. And so like we talk about like what the most important thing of all NFT projects is, and it's really community, and that goes to just how people are interacting now, is just much more on a sort of community or more and more niche basis around communities, and NFTs are just a sect of that. It's just a different subsect of that, and I think that if people want to also put their sort of money uh, towards that sort of community as they see as the potential utility, I think that that's just sort of where we have gone as a society in general, and I think we'll continue to trend that way until the next sort of phase of social is something entirely different from just communities. Maybe it's even more and more niche, which is potentially the case.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it becoming more and more niche because, I mean, I think that just part of my overall thesis for tech is just like, we're becoming more and more online. People have been flexing since the beginning of time, so like, why would they not continue to do so online? We already saw, a glimpse of that last cycle, but the overall NFT market cap is still like, for Ethereum specifically, is like only like 4% of Ethereum's market cap. So I mean, that's going to be the highest growth sector within crypto next cycle. I think is there's also you have to consider like the market of people, it's basically not even the same people as like regular CT for the most part. There's like a little bit of crossover with certain collections, but for the most part, like it's almost separate groups of people. Like there's people that only trade NFTs, and like that's how they got into crypto. And I think there'll be a lot more of those people because there's not necessarily a ton of people that want to like buy a coin and like stare at a chart, but there's a lot of people that want to think some shit is cool and they like resonate with it and they'll like bag hold it forever basically. So I think that's like the NFC bull case. Um, Also, just people like increasingly wanting to feel like they're a part of something, like as we get more and more isolated just spending time on our computers and stuff. It's like kind of sad, but like I think it's probably inevitable that we all have more and more people like bridging onto these platforms. And if you're like accumulating a crazy good collections right now, I think you're going to do really well next run once people come around to them and like the stigma of them has died. Because I mean, you ask pretty much anyone on the street and like 99% of people think it's still like all a scam, and a lot of it is, but like it's not, it doesn't necessarily mean the entire concept is flawed or something. I think it's a great concept. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the NFT thesis. But I don't know if you guys have anything else.
Yeah, man. I have very little to contribute whenever it comes to like the broader like technologies that NFTs that they could produce, right? Crap, I fuck. I'm sorry, guys. I literally mumbled my words there. What I meant to say was I have very little to say when it comes to like NFT theses and all that stuff. Gosh, I pulled off a Joe Biden, man. Sorry about that. But
Sleepy Wabi.
but honestly, man, dude, when it comes to NFTs, I think like eventually they'll be as accessible as a trading card. I know that's an analogy that people like Gary Vee and the mainstream media like to compare it to, sort of like a Pokemon card. And I think eventually at some point they'll be just as accessible, and something as little as a QR code, right? But instead of a QR code, it's like a trading card, right? But
I
then
mean,
it
you can
gets
just
to
verify it on chain. Like that's what's so cool is like people are like, how do you own it? Like people still are on that. I promise if you ask pretty much anybody that's like not into crypto, like what do you think of NFTs or like what do you think of they're gonna probably ask you like, oh, like how do you like, it's not tangible, it's not physical, but I think there's only like a select few people that can like recognize the value in it still, and those people that have like basically all the best performing assets, sounded absolutely cooked when they first came out. Any if people are calling you stupid for your investment, that's usually bullish, to be honest. Like I just a lot of people are like, oh, why are you buying these internet pictures or whatever? And it's like, dude, you know, I'd rather trade against like just other retailers than like institutions and stuff, or in massive market makers. And I think it's easier. You can outperform if you really know what you're doing, and you can like spot trends and just like know how to play the market. Uh, Also, there's just like random things that'll pop off, like checks were like $8 for a mint. That kind of started the whole open edition meta. Uh, those ran to like 2.5 ETH, so it was like $8 to whatever, like 6K or some shit in like 3 weeks. And so they'll just be crazy opportunities sometimes, man. Where if you just catch something, uh, it can really pay off. And so
it can really pay off, dog. That's what
yeah,
that's that's the meta. It can really pay off. And look, man,
Zog is the alpha man.
I guess we can just relax now, man. I think we've discussed some pretty serious topics, so yeah, I invited Skullfuckers up here. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. Just for the just for the space, man, just to have some fun, because It's fun to have general discussion, all that stuff, but then after that, we kick it for about 10 to 15, and then we just have some general discussion. There's always a human behind every person that likes to do crypto and NFTs and all that stuff. So want to welcome you up, man. I see you're a multi-chain AIO DAO, and I have no idea what any of that means, man, but it sounds cool. I know what a DAO is, but the AIO, I have no clue what it means, man. Would love to know. Would love to know. I'm sort of allowing the Aptos development teams to be my senpai, and I'm your student. So I'm ready. I'm ready to learn, man. What's going on, brother? Thank you for coming up here. And I see we also have bone shamans. We'll start off with skull fuckers, man. So what's going on, bro? How are you feeling?
Feeling good, guys. Thanks for having me up here. It's a pleasure. Yeah, in fact, for the AIO DAO part, it's just all in one DAO. We're pretty much trying to go as multi-chain as it gets. We want to start out on Aptos. So we hit Sol, Ethereum, Stacks, or BTC, HBAR, Cardano, everything eventually, and just kind of try to make a central hub for everyone and just to get along, have fun. We're going to make claimables on each chain so you can build your full skeleton at the end, and basically ties all into one big full skull fucker. So that's kind of where we're going with that. It's a free mint. Just going to be a fun thing to just connect all the communities and chains together.
Yeah, and I think that's one aspect that people forget is that sometimes we're just here to have some fun, man. And that's pretty cool, bro. That's pretty cool. So Bone Shamans, we'll go with you. What's going on, brother? Thanks for coming up on the show.
Sorry. Good morning, guys. I'm glad to be up here. Thank you very much for bringing me up here. So, Bone Shamans, we are a collection that intends to become a focal point between art, tech, and community. So, in such a way that once holders of our NFTs hold our any of our collections, you'll be able to get access to any of the three of which we are a focal point in. So, at the moment, we are building a marketplace, an NFT marketplace called Bone Club AI powered marketplace. It's a marketplace that basically combines automation and AI technology together. Then we also have our second platform planned, which is our Nexus platform, which is a freelance platform that is catered towards founders of Web3 projects. So our basic plan is to combine the NFT market and the freelance market together in such a way that it helps the entire Web3 ecosystem grow. So,
That's awesome, bro. You're in the trenches, dude. Good to have you up here, brother. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this space, if you guys are enjoying the space, feel free to follow us here at Because Bitcoin. My name's Wabi. I host these kind of spaces all the time. Today was a very, very new style of space. You guys know that usually whenever I have guests on, it's typically ecosystems that the community is not even vaguely, but more more active, right? And then by active, I mean things like Ethereum and Cosmos and things like that. But it's always nice to discover new communities. I know recently we had some people from Elrond, and today we have Aptos, and typically with these newer ecosystems over the next bull cycle, they tend to kick off. And yeah, it was a pleasure having you guys on, and I'm looking forward to the next one. And yeah, Bones, we'll keep in touch, of course. And I'm very excited to see what's going to be developed over the next year. And, you know, hopefully we can host Mo over the next year or two. I think that'd be pretty sick. I always like communicating with founders and all that stuff. We recently had a Sriram from Eigenlayer, and also Keon from Monad, and Matt Katz from Caldera, and absolute brilliant minds. So looking forward to connecting with Mo at a later date sometime in the future. So thank you so much, Bones, bro, for coming up on. Thank you, Stars, and thank you for all the 3 NFT collections that came up, and also Lore. This discussion was pretty neat. Definitely out of my comfort zone, and that's the way that you get better in life, by getting out of your comfort zone, trying to learn something new, and being exposed to communities that you don't really have experience roaming about in. So um, I want to give a shout out again to Noah's Protocol for being the sponsor of the space today. And thank you all once again. This replay of the space will be up on our YouTube channel. So I guess we can say, what are some closing thoughts that you guys have? Bones, any closing thoughts,
Yeah,
brother?
thank you so much for having us here. Yeah, Tsunami. We're currently in our closed testnet alpha. Feel free to come by our Discord, and we can probably hook you guys up with the link if you'd like to participate on it. We will be going to mainnet pretty soon here. Should be very very exciting. It'll be very very exciting to have like a actual trading platform go live on the Aptos ecosystem where people can go long and short with leverage, and a real legitimate earn product where people can earn, blue chip assets like Bitcoin, ETH, and Aptos. Um, so yeah, we're very, very excited about everything. We also have some really cool NFTs that'll be coming out eventually. Obviously, as we want to combine NFTs with some of our earn products and basically just give holders the ability to receive real yield in the form of Aptos and Bitcoin and ETH and stables. And so, yeah, come by our Discord. If you guys go ahead and drop a because Bitcoin in our Discord general chat, we'll go ahead and give you our OG roll, and that'll eventually give you our original NFT. But yeah, thank you guys so much for having us here. I'm sure if you go by Start Space's Discord as well, and drop a because Bitcoin, they'll hook you up with some cool stuff as well. And yeah, man, we just appreciate you guys for supporting the Aptos ecosystem. Hope to do more of this.
No problem, man.
No
No
problem.
problem.
Thanks for coming up.
Step by step, bro. Step by step. By step.
Bye,
Step by
step,
step.
brother.
Yeah. So once again, shout out to our sponsor, Knowles Protocol. They're a non-custodial crypto lending app with some pretty unique features for their borrowers. They offer loans that are under collateralized with financing up to 150% without the risk of liquidation through its DeFi lease solution. They'll be going mainnet sometime in May or June. Shout out to them. Check them out. They're up on the pin comment up on the nest. So thank you all so much, and it'd mean the world to me if you guys can follow because Bitcoin. Every follow counts, and your support means the world. We'll be back tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to be hosting a few projects from the Phantom ecosystem. We're going to be hosting a Liquid Driver and also Equalizer. And yeah, stay tuned for more of our shows. And as usual, take care, everyone. God bless you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Peace out, guys.